Sup, losers? If you're about to go into high school or you're in high school and you want a guide for all the classes, well, here's your one-stop place for all the classes I took. I was that one stupid senior year, still taking all 7 classes while kids were going off working or something. Anyway, also this video is unscripted, so yeah, we're gonna be tier listing every single class I've taken that's high school level. And that means that some of them are going to be I took in middle school because I'm a freaking show-off. So this is going to include all of your AP stuff as well. And also, I didn't take every class. Obviously, I didn't take physics because I like my sanity, and I didn't take like video game design because I like showers and stuff. So, it's just going to be the classes I've taken. I'm not going to be judging any classes I didn't take by word of mouth. And also, this design you see here, the tier list, is archaic, so I made one of my own. So here, we have a pretty simple setup. No, this isn't a freaking political chart or compass. So here, you can't really see. Oh yeah, easy, hard. So the higher I put a class on here, the more hard it is. Then we have unimportant and important. So the further right it goes, the more important it gets. And also we have a little key here. If it's highlighted gray, I took it in middle school. I know it's a high school classes, but it's a high school level class in middle school. And if it's highlighted red, it's freshman year, yellow sophomore, green junior, and blue senior. And here we have the kind of class it is. Math is red, science is blue, social studies is green, yellow is English, languages other than English is this purple, I think. Economics is a bright, annoying green. Athletics is gray, agriculture is navy blue, art is maroon. By the way, these are the right colors. I don't want to hear any, I made math blue and science is supposed to be green. This is right. I'm sorry. I know what I'm doing. So let's begin. I'll start with all my middle school classes. Let's start with a fun one. Art 1. Art 1 I will put, I think it's pretty important. Not super important. You got to know your basics of art, like, balance and color and whatnot. But, it's just kind of a fun class. It's an elective you take in middle school just for fun. You have to graduate with at least 1 art credit. It's not hard at all. It's very easy. You don't have to be good at art to be in a basic art class like this. So pretty dang easy. I guess you have to try. It's definitely more important. Yeah, I'll put it right here. Alright. Spanish 1. I think learning languages other than English is super important. So it's definitely far over here. But I think it's a little hard too. Spanish 1, it wasn't too crazy. We just learned words and stuff. Wasn't anything immense, so right here. I'll put a bit higher. Yeah, it's definitely hard, but it's important to learn other languages. Athletics. Oh, yeah, athletics. This is your basic athletics class. You do stuff. You do weights or whatever. It is super unimportant. I mean, it was just it wasn't with my sport. It was every kid in every sport, and middle school kids are dumb as heck. I hated everyone in athletics except a few people maybe. I hated doing weight room. The weight room stuff wasn't designed to help me build muscle. It was help the people who already had muscle. As soon as I take cross country, spoilers by the way, I actually had good muscle and strength build because it was designed for me. So athletics, it's unimportant. It was pretty hard, so it was hard to do. I guess you could say, you learn grit and perseverance and morality, but that's all stuff I learned in cross country. I didn't even have to take athletics to do athletics in high school, so what's the freaking point? I just want to add that, the kids were stupid, the boys were stupid, and would get in trouble a lot, and then everyone would get in trouble, and then it's oh, it's a team effort. So if one kid gets in trouble, you all get in trouble. Even though there's 60 kids, how can I keep track of all of them? How would I athletics, dude. Pre-AP Algebra 1. This pre-AP Algebra 1 I took in 8th grade. Kids dropped like flies out of this class. A lot of kids thought they could handle this, and like first 2 months, kids were just dropping left and right. And it was like classes were being rearranged for kids and stuff. So to give you a gauge of how hard this math class was, I mean, obviously it's simple concepts now, but like at the time, it was crazy. And just to give you an idea of how hard it was, because I can never put how difficult this class was to me in words, it is the only class in my entire transcript that is less than a 90. Entire one. Everything else is a 90 or up. This one was like an 86. So it is hard, but it's also pretty important to know your basic algebra, but it's not, super important. I can live without that. But it is hard. It is hard. I think it was easily the hardest class I think I've ever taken, probably. All right, so that's our middle school, high school level credit, middle school. So let's do our English classes. Pre-AP English 1. Oh, keep in mind, all the ones highlighted in red, that's freshman year. That was the year the pandemic came in. So I only had three quarters, semester and a half of freshman year. And we did online, but like it didn't matter. So pre-AP English 1, not really important. I'm going to move the importance of algebra down a little bit. I think there's going to be a lot more important stuff. No, it's actually like a pretty important math class. Okay. Not very important. I guess, we just read Of Mice and Men and Romeo and Juliet and Fahrenheit 451, whatever. I don't remember a whole lot from this class. I built a Lego set for a project. That was pretty cool. It's pretty easy, but it's pretty unimportant, so I'll put it right there. English 2. I have even less of a memory of what we did in this class, so I think it's even more important, but probably not as easy. Yeah. English composition. So this is your first AP composition class, and it's like, rhetorical analysis and how writers get their point across and stuff. We read some pretty cool books. Did some cool things. The class was cool. Kids were cool. Teacher was cool. And this is an AP class, so I get to talk about my AP scores. I got a 5 on this thing because I am baller. Very few kids got a 5 on this thing. And she had like the names of the kids who got 5s in the past on her wall, and there was like 6 students at the most. Unfortunately, she moved away before my name would be put up there, and I get to brag. So it's pretty important to know. Like I think learning about rhetorical stuff is really fun and important, and learning about like fallacies is really important too, especially in this age. So I think it's pretty important, not crazy important. It was pretty hard. I think it's definitely the hardest English class. Literature is definitely easier, definitely not as important, but it's still pretty hard. Is that a good place? Medium importance? I'd say it's a little important. You read like Hamlet and stuff. It is definitely fun. It's definitely fun to learn about like characters and how characters are designed and stuff and whatnot, and how the writers get you to feel about things. But it's not very important. I mean, reading is important, but you don't really need to know all that stuff unless you want to be a writer. Actually, this is my list, so it's not in general. So I think it's more important, or equal importance, but it's a little bit easier. And on the AP score on this one, I think it's just literature. Yeah, literature after that, probably a 5. Some of my essays were a little stupid, maybe a 4. Let's check it out. Literature, 5. Oh, 4. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, well, I got a 4. Yeah, so it was AP. The English AP tests. I can't speak. Were pretty hard because you have to write 3 essays in like 2 hours. MCQ parts are pretty easy. If you just learn how to do the formula, think fast. You have to think really, really fast. They're pretty alright English tests. Definitely the most bothersome ones, but you get them done. Pre-AP Geography. This was also during the pandemic. I love geography. I think it's super interesting. I wish I took the AP class of it. The teacher was a coach, so he didn't care at all. He He taught, of course. He, you know, makes us do things sometimes, but the tests were stupid. He didn't teach us the stuff on the test, and then everyone did bad, and we all got a curve. You know, it was one of those classes. But I like learning about geography and stuff. I like learning about the world and stuff, capitals and whatever we did. I don't remember. A lot of everything in freshman year, I barely remember. I'd say it's pretty important, very easy, not super important. So I'll put there. AP World History. So this is the first AP class that I've ever taken. The only one I took in sophomore year. It's pretty hard. I think it's important. It's definitely like the highest workload you're going to get in sophomore year, but it's not crazy workload. It's a good way to get yourself into a high workload before the junior year absolutely curb stomps you. So I think it's, even if you like aren't going to want AP tests or AP scores at all, you should take this class. You should take this AP test. It was an alright AP test. I think it was only hard. I think I only got a 4 because I didn't really study or learn how to write fast. But otherwise, it was pretty easy. So important, not that hard. I'd say it's like right here. I'm going to move Spanish up. Actually, no, Spanish one was easy. Yeah, that's good. AP US History. Super important. If you are a US citizen, you have to know US history. My US history teacher was really good. He's kind of a dork, but he really emphasized how great or bad some of the things the US has done. I think super important. US history. You have to know the history of the country. You have to know how it's founded, why things are the way they are. And especially nowadays, that's super important. So I think it's pretty dang important. I'll put it up like that high. And well, wait, no, that's a hard. Okay, pretty hard. Really, it's an easy class, easy concepts, easy tests. Just a really high workload, but it's a simple workload, so you just kind of have to hammer it down. So yeah, that's a good place for it. U.S. What the frick did I just do? Oh, there we go. U.S. government. I love learning about government. I think it's awesome, super important, just as important as U.S. history, but it's a lot easier. Workload isn't as bad. Let me scoot U.S. history over, because it was leaning out. Super important. I'm saying important a lot, but it is. I loved learning about the branches of government and state and federal and the bureaucracy and voter behavior and political stuff, and I think it's super interesting and awesome. And I think if you love government and politics, you think it's interesting, this is an easy class, and it's gonna be a great class. If you don't really care, you might struggle a little bit. I love it, so I did the best I could. Government, definitely got a freaking 5 on that thing, no problem. Government 5, yeah, all right. I studied a little bit for the tests and stuff, but not that much. I got a 5 on this test. It was like, I think it was the easiest AP test ever. So, yeah, I think it's pretty easy, at least personally. It's an AP class, so it's going to be hard. AP macroeconomics. I took, so both government and macroeconomics. I cannot speak. U.S. government the first semester, and economics the second semester. Glad it fitted that way, because it was easier to study for government than it would have been for economics after not learning anything for a semester. Definitely not as important as U.S. government, but still sort of important. So I'll put it right there. Easy class. The concepts are kind of hard, but there's not much of a workload. And you just kind of have to memorize your shifters and your graphs and your stuff. So it was alright. Definitely harder than government and U.S. history, definitely. Economics, I don't think I need it for college, so I didn't really care. 2, 3, I don't know. Macroeconomics. I got a 4 on I got a 4 on macroeconomics. How did I do that? I literally knew freaking nothing. I did not pay attention in class. I just the curve must have been massive because I had no freaking clue. I can't believe I got a really surprised about the macroeconomics. I think that's hilarious. I said that I didn't pay attention in class. I did all my notes, studied for tests and stuff. I just didn't care to study for the test at all. Like, I studied for every single test. I just didn't study for macroeconomics. I got a 4, I guess. Oh well. Oh, not bad. Yeah. I'd say world history. I'll scoot up world history, but it's definitely more important than economics. Pre-AP biology. I love biology. I think it's awesome. I had an awesome teacher. It was fun learning about genetics and stuff, and evolution, which is real, by the way, and cells. I think that's interesting, and it was pretty easy. So important, easy. Should I move any of these easier? No. I'll move the Englishes down because I kind of forgot that green square existed. The easy spectrum. Hold on. There you go. Yeah. Nah. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Pre-AP Bio, it's definitely on the easy side right here. And, you still have to put in your work, but it's not a hard class. I think it's pretty important. Not super important, but important. It was pretty fun. Pre-AP Chemistry, I think other than algebra, this is my lowest level grade. It's around a 92, I think. I think it's only because my teacher absolutely sucked. She had no idea how to teach it. I had to teach chemistry all myself. After pandemic year, so we're allowed to use computers, so all the tests were open note, so you didn't really have to study or care. So it was kind of miserable. It was just hard because I wanted to understand these concepts, but I wasn't able to. And it was hard to do tests and stuff, so it was hard. But not really super important. Like, if I had a good teacher, I'd scoot it over to the important. But since I had a bad teacher, it'll just be in the middle, just for it varies on your teacher. Pretty hard. It was definitely gave me more of a tussle than all these AP classes. AP Bio. Alright, same stuff about pre-AP Bio. Super fun class, super interesting. Not too hard. This is like the opposite of US History. US History, you have a hard workload, but easy concepts. Biology has some hard concepts, like respiration and what's it called? I don't know, the DNA stuff. I don't remember any of this junior year. DNA stuff and respiration and photosynthesis. Those are all hard concepts. You kind of have to memorize every little tiny bit about them. But, like evolution and ecology, that's all easy. So it varies on easiness, so I'll put it about right here. The AP test was hard. I got a 4 on it. I thought I got a 5, but I think it's because I messed up on the formatting of the writing. I put all the writing on one page and screwed up. I think that's how I got a 4, is just by messing it up. But yeah, it's not too hard. Definitely one of the easier AP classes. I think it's pretty dang important. Yeah, I put it right about right here. I think bio is really important that you understand how stuff works. Like biology and stuff. AP Environmental Science. Right off the bat, it's like this easy. It's like 8th grade level science. If you passed 8th grade level science, you're going to pass this class. I got a 5 on the test, but since the teacher didn't really care, the teacher was an awesome guy, by the way. No one cared. He didn't care. Write some words and you get a 100. But I did care about environmental science, which is probably why I was one of 2 people to get a 5 on this test. But I think it's really important to learn about, carbon cycle and pollution and climate change, which is also real, by the way. And I don't know what else. Water and fish and stuff. It's basically, a year-long class about how much humans screw everything up. I think that's pretty dang important to know. At least be aware of. Yeah, I'll put it there. Definitely easy. Definitely easier than geography. Yeah, I'll put it there. AP Chemistry. AP Chemistry, need at least a 4 to get what I want. But it was really freaking rough. Might be a 3, might be a 2. Whatever. It's AP Chemistry. I did the best I could. I was scared. Oh, frick. Oh. Oh, I need at least a 4. Dang it. So I'm gonna have to take chemistry again, freshman year of college. That sucks. Did the best I could, I guess. Yeah. So, I got a 3 on this test. Lowest AP test grade. I still got an A plus on this class though. It's easy to pass if you work a lot. The workload is crazy. The concepts are really hard to understand, especially if you had a horrible teacher for pre-AP chemistry. But if you work hard, you buy a textbook, you study, you do all your homework, because people are like, oh, I don't want to do homework, the grades don't really matter. Homework gets you prepared for tests, so when the test comes around, you screw up. So my teacher was also really lenient. Like, I tell him, like, listen, I need extra days to work on the homework. He'd give me extra days, which is awesome. And on quizzes, you can correct them to a 90, which is awesome. So by the time the test comes around, you've already went through all your mistakes and you have it down. The AP test is so much harder than the class, because it's such a disconnect, because as soon as you, like, there's no carryover of the concepts of chemistry, very little carryover. So when you learn something and you take the test on it, it's out your brain. But for the AP test, it's all of it combined, so you have to know everything. It's super freaking hard. Hardest AP test. I passed it, but I didn't get the score I needed to get the college credit. So definitely hardest class I've ever taken. Pretty important. If you do chemistry, you're rich, because no one wants to do chemistry. It's hard. Not as hard as algebra, so I'll scoot that down. Pretty important. Not super important, but pretty dang important. I'll scoot down a little bit right here. Yeah, definitely not as important as bio or the history. Yeah, right there. Hardest class. Harder than algebra 1. I got an A plus on that class, but it's very hard an A plus. Alright. Let's pause this. So, alright. This is what you've all been waiting for, the math classes. So I already talked about algebra 1. Super hard to understand those concepts at the time, but looking back, it's pretty easy. Geometry. This is the only class where I've taken an on-level, so no pre-AP, no AP, where I could have otherwise taken a pre-AP, except Spanish, I think, maybe. But Algebra 1 tanked my confidence in math so hard that I picked geometry instead of pre-AP geometry. This class was super freaking easy. I got a 90 on, more than a 90 on every single test. It was just easiest math class I've ever taken. I really should have taken pre-AP. It's pretty important. It was also during the pandemic, so I don't remember learning a whole lot in this class. The concepts come up later, I guess. I don't know. I think there's quite a bit that I missed of geometry by taking on level. I don't think it harmed me too much. So, not super important. It's kind of important. I just don't remember freshman year a whole lot. Pre-AP Algebra 2. Easier than Algebra 1. There's more concepts, of course. Some harder concepts, I guess, but, your brain is a bit bigger by the time Algebra 2 comes around in sophomore year. So you're a lot more prepared for those concepts. Yeah, it's pretty... I think Algebra 2 is definitely more important than Algebra 1. Especially, or not. Algebra 1's kind of... Yeah. I think that's a good place for it. It got a little miserable sometimes, but most of the time I knew what I was doing. I was fine on the tests. Yeah, it's just your general, you have to try math class, but homework wasn't too bad. Yeah. Because in sophomore year, I think world history had the most homework. Yeah, good days. Alright. Pre-AP, pre-cal. Pre-cal and calculus, are entirely different things. I don't know why it's called pre-cal. It should just be big math or something. I don't remember a whole lot about this class either. I had it 7th period junior year, so I was like brain dead by the time it all came around. Class was kind of chaotic, but I got a 90 or above on every single test except the last one. Concepts aren't too hard. I think there's a few times, like conics, I think, that it's just tedious. I think, what's it called? Trigonometry, like SOHCAHTOA and stuff. That's kind of hard to understand, but once you got it, you got it. My advice, know your unit circle. That's the thing where it gives you angles and radians and all that. You have to know that. That's to be in your brain like it is the language you speak. You have to know that thing. So, also know trigonometry. So, yeah. It's obviously, as math goes on, it gets less important, but it's still pretty, if you want to take a math after the math you are in, it's pretty important. But if you're like, pre-cal, I took it my senior year, I'm not doing math after, not super important, but pretty important to me. On-ramp stats, easy math. By easy I say it's, sort of hard. I took my senior year along with calculus. It's definitely more of like a word class. You hear that a lot. You do a little coding, but the coding is just like copy and paste the templates and put different words in. It's pretty easy. It's just taking like data and making inferences about it. Hardest thing is just knowing what to do. But other than that, it's pretty easy. Kind of important. Like you learn a little bit how stats can be manipulated and how it cannot be accurate. So I think it's a pretty important math class, just to know those general concepts of stats. Yeah. That's all I have to say about it, I guess. Almost passed out a few times in this class because I'd just be so tired in 5th period. AP Calculus AB. I mentioned I got 3 on that. AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus, AP AB Calculus. I think I got a 5, maybe a 4. But yeah, I'm pretty confident about that one. Let's check it out. Alright. Heck yeah, look at that. AP Calculus AB. Got a 5. You love to see it. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, final thoughts. Calculus. It's hard, but if you know your stuff, you know it. I got a 5 on the test and an A on the class. And that is very hard earned. I think this in chemistry, I had to push myself so hard to get this class down. Like, the concepts are hard. It's fast paced. And this is the easier calculus. I could have taken BC, but I didn't need it. BC is the hard calculus. Oops. But AB is the easier, I'm doing quotations right now, easier class. It's still fast-paced. Do not underestimate calculus. It's miserable. There's a reason why everyone hates it. But by the end of the year, there's a lot of, like, remember how I said with chemistry there's no carryover? Calculus is constant carryover. You can't like, I don't understand this concept, this unit. I'll just bear out the test and not have to carry anymore. It carries over. Concepts build up on each other. And you have to have everything down before you move on. And teacher was awesome. Class was awesome. If you are in my AB calculus class, you are cool. Some of you are freaking saving grace by giving the answers of homework. And when I say giving the answers of homework, I didn't just copy your answers down. I do the homework, then I check my work, which, like, homework is so freaking important. I cannot stress that enough. To do mistakes before a test comes around, because you'd rather do mistakes on homework than on tests. That's just, yeah. I got like 70s on a lot of these tests. I had to do corrections for every test. I don't think I ever failed any though. Failed any tests. But it's a very hard class. You have to be quite a gritty person to take this kind of thing. So super hard. Not super important. Like, I guess I just, people are like, math's not important. I just can't see how I'm going to use it. I might use it sometime in my future, but I just can't see how. Right now, it's definitely like not as important as your basic algebra, your history, your chemistry, I guess. So yeah. All right, that's all your math classes. This is quite a lenient chart we got here. Spanish 2, took in my freshman year. Spanish is so important. Again, this was pretty hard too. Fortunately, my teacher wasn't too great. She didn't care. She couldn't control the class. Most people take Spanish. You have to take at least 2 years of Spanish to graduate. We're not Spanish. English languages other than English, so you could have taken ASL or French or German or whatever. I really wish I had a room and good teachers to teach Spanish, but I just had so many electives that I couldn't fit it in. I really want to learn Spanish again. I think that's important. It's pretty difficult, of course, but Spanish is great. It's not as fun as Spanish 1. I guess that's from the middle school to high school carryover. You just learn a lot of conjugation in Spanish too, which is annoying, but sort of you deal with it. So yeah, I think that's a good placing for Spanish. Painting 1. I love painting. It's easy. Painting's easy. I think it's sort of important. Not really. I think painting 1 was important because I wanted to learn how to paint, so it's important for me. Now I'm pretty good at painting. It's a fun class. It's relaxing. I miss having art classes. I only had art classes for freshman, sophomore year, and sort of junior. It was relaxing. If you have space on your schedule, I definitely suggest taking an art class. You don't have to be good at it. There's a lot of kids in my art classes who weren't good at art, but they had fun. It was relaxing, so it's pretty dang easy. Definitely harder than Art 1. Pretty important to me, at least. If you don't care about painting, it's not going to be important to you. Painting 2 is just painting 1 again. I don't think we did anything big or different. Maybe the teacher had higher expectations or something, but really, again, you don't have to be good at art. Not as important, probably harder. Let me move geography up a little bit. Alright, painting. I love painting, it's fun. Alright, ag classes now. I had this weird thing with ag. Ag kids like raise animals and go to farms and competitions. And I was just there because I wanted to learn about wildlife, because that's the field I wanted to study. So I took Intro to Ag in my sophomore year. Definitely a weird move, because I had no impression on ag, but I was really glad I took this class. I loved learning about cows and dogs and pigs and sheep and horses and flowers. That was fun. But I was intending to take the wildlife and fisheries class. Also, you have to learn the FFA creed, or like the first 3 paragraphs. That's the hardest thing. So that'll knock it into the almost hard. Other times you just had to like make slideshows or answer questions on movies or whatever, your basic class, easy class. But it's important to learn how, where your food comes from, I guess. I don't think it goes into too much detail on the ag machine or anything, but, and then, yeah. I think right here is pretty good. And then the ag teacher, by the way, let me just talk about how like committed ag kids and teachers and parents are. I went to like a board meeting once just to like see how the program worked. They make money. They are organized. They know what they're freaking doing. I think my school just had a really exponential ag program, but I have a lot of respect for ag despite being loosely involved in it. I think it's a really great program. I think if you're listening and you kind of want to do something different or fun that might, look impressive to colleges or jobs, I definitely say take ag. And then the ag teacher noticed that I was really smart, which meant not slacking off in class. So he said, hey, instead of taking the fisheries and wildlife class like you're intending, how about you take the ag leadership class, which is full of your best ag kids, and that's where you do the competitions and stuff. It's kind of a weird class because it's like multiple tiny classes. You have like, so the LDEs are in the first semester. That's leadership development. That's leadership development events. So it's mostly like public speaking. You have to read off scripts. You have to write scripts and talk about agriculture. I wasn't good enough to have a speaking part, which I'm fine with. I made this slideshow though. I made the slideshow that happened behind them, and the team got a lot of compliments for the slideshow, a few compliments. And the team went all the way to state, which is pretty cool. Good job, I guess. But it's pretty important to learn how to public speak, but not too much important to me because I had to do a whole lot of the public speaking. Just want to add that public speech is really important. This class does it pretty well by training kids with public speech. I should probably get around to training for public speech eventually, but since I didn't do it in this class, it's not too important. So that's why I placed it in the not too important area. I kind of just only wanted to do the wildlife thing. By the way, the teacher said, convinced me to join the ag leadership because of the career development events, which are in the second semester. And one of them was a wildlife team. I freaking love this. This was awesome. You do wildlife competitions. I love wildlife so freaking much. You go. You have to learn about plants and animals and management and techniques and game laws and safety. I loved learning about animals and plants so much and being able to test my knowledge on them. You do the competitions every other week. You go to some place. You are given plants. You have to ID those plants, and I got really freaking good at IDing plants. Not to brag, but I'd only get like 2 or a few wrong out of 15. You had like a list of 75 plants. You had to absolutely know. Sometimes they just tie a stick to a post and say, "What stick is that?" And I know it. I knew all the leaves. I knew all the berries. I knew all the sticks and leaves and berries and flowers and stuff and bark of all these plants. I still get a few wrong, but like in my senior year, I took this junior year and senior year. I just studied so much for this because I just loved it so much. I studied the plants the most. I didn't really care about safety or game laws or fishing laws because I don't really do a whole lot of that. But I love learning about plants. It was super, super important to me because I want to be a wildlife biologist. And it was a great way to get wildlife biology experience. So it was sort of easy. It's really if you choose. Everyone else on my team didn't really care about wildlife as much as I did, or they were focused on, school and stuff. But I loved it. I studied so much, so it's as hard as you study. So I studied pretty hard. Very important. I'd put it right here. I have to scoot Spanish out of the way. Sorry, Spanish. I'll move Spanish up to difficult, I guess. Is it? No, it's not more difficult than U.S. history. I'll snuggle it right there. There you go. Ag leadership, wildlife, love it. Join ag, it's great. Floral design. I took floral design because I couldn't actually take the ag leadership class because of calculus. There's a schedule interference. So they said, well, if you want to stay in the ag programs and compete in wildlife in the spring, you have to take an ag class. And so instead of having an off block, I had floral design, 7th period. Easy, not important to me. If you want to be a florist designer, obviously super important, but to me, not important. I already took art classes. I didn't need an art class. Kids were only there because they needed one art class and they didn't want to take an actual art class. Teacher wasn't even the actual floral teacher the school had. It was just some other ag teacher. She didn't really care a whole lot. So like one time I missed a quiz because I had a track meet or whatever. And I said, hey, can I make up the quiz? And she said, don't worry about it. So I do want to add that I actually really enjoyed making floral designs, like making flowers in pots. That was actually fun. I enjoyed it. That's where floral goes. All right. And last 2 classes, track and cross country. I could talk for hours about these classes, which I took for all of these years, middle school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I was injured a few times, but let's not talk about it. I could talk about these cross country and track for literally forever. I love it so much. I think it's so important. And it takes so much out of you to be a cross country runner. You have to wake up super early, show up to school, do long runs, hard workouts, paced runs, weights, weight room, body weight and workout, and every single day. and maybe you have Sunday off, but every other day, even on Saturday, you have to go out and run. You have the track meets or cross country meets every Saturday or Friday. You miss school so much. Like my hardest weeks in school ever were when I had to meet during school and I had to miss school and I had to make up everything. Rough weeks. I'd get behind for like several days of schoolwork and it was miserable, but I loved it. It is so hard. And like finally, like when I did my last track season and I dropped out of the class, only then, because I dropped out because I didn't need it anymore. There's no more meets, so you can drop out senior year, whatever. Only then did I really realize how much cross country took from me. Like I say that like it's mean, but it just takes so much energy. Like I'd be so exhausted during class. I'd be so tired all the time, but I loved it so much. It made me healthy. It made me strong. It made me eat well. It made me smart. It made me strong. It made me, friendly to other people. Cross country and track teammates, some of the best friends I've ever made. They're my brothers to me. Even now during the summer, I'm still running. I just ran this morning with some of them on the team. It's just the most important thing I've ever done, and also the most difficult thing. Some of those days, especially my senior year, where I was varsity, so I was held up to, varsity expectations. Just some really rough days, some really rough meets, but sports guy talking about sports all the time. I also ran a marathon. I know that doesn't have to do with the school, but I ran a marathon. I think that's cool. I'll do it again. But really, there's so much I owe to track and cross country and the coach. Amazing coach. Probably one of the greatest people I've ever met. And some of the kids on the team. Like, cross country's 90% of them are amazing people. Because if you're not a good person, you either wise up or you drop out of cross country. Because, yeah, I'm playing with a little toy thing. Sorry, if you heard that. So yeah, just like there's a reason why America loves and the world loves sports so much. Is just the bond of misery. It's like it really is like a brotherhood where I couldn't choose the people on my team like I could choose friends, but you were with them through some of the worst miserable conditions: rain, cold, heat, humidity, and if you go through crappy crap like that with someone, you really get along. You get along with them. So super important. Most important thing I've ever done. Track not as important, but it's technically the same class. You just do track meets in the spring. Not as important because it's not. It's hard to judge these two. I'd like to put them right next to each other. Maybe track is like a bit harder than cross country, but no, that's not true. They're equal, so I put them right on top of each other like that. So yeah, I don't know if I ever wanted to talk for a few hours about cross country on this. Maybe I will, but anyway, there's your thing. Let me just make sure I said all the scores I got in AP, these AP tests. Chemistry 3, calculus 4, composition 5, literature 4, U.S. history I got a 4. I don't think I mentioned that. It was a hard test. Yeah, the writing part of the test was miserable because it's like you have to like repeat sentences. I don't know why. I think they should be really a lot looser with how strict the essays are, and just go based off of how much you know United States history. Again, really fun class. I love the lecture style of it. I love lecture classes like chemistry. Like, chemistry is fun. Whenever it's a lecture class, even if it's something miserable like chemistry, you have fun writing notes. I was that psycho with all the colorful notes and stuff, but it's fun to write notes. I sound like such an idiot, such a nerd right now. It's fun to write notes, so lecture-orientated classes like AP World History, U.S. History, Chemistry, They really prepare you for college. At least I think they do. I'm not in college yet. Um, Macroeconomics, I got a 4 somehow. Biology, I got a 4. World history, I got a 4. Environmental science, I got a 5. Yeah, I think I mentioned all my AP test scores. So I passed every single AP test, all 10 of them. So, yeah, well, there's the. I don't think I have any more closing remarks. Athletics, hard and stupid and unimportant, mostly because of middle school boys and middle school coaches are psychopaths. Um, those are early Englishes. They're kind of easy, not important. I think the only reason they're in this place is because I don't really remember a whole lot from them. I guess if you skip these 2 classes and take the APs, you're going to have a rough time. So, you know what, maybe I'll scoot these over. There you go. Floral design. I think maybe if I had like a real floral design teacher, it'd be, a bit harder. But since she didn't care, it just goes right here. These are your arts. Important, but easy. Important but easy. So this is going to be your don't take. Take if you want to fill in some space, or take if you have to with your Englishes. This is your fun classes like painting and art, or geometry. You're on the geography. Yeah, so I'd say all these classes are fun. Intro to Ag, Bio, Geography was fun. Painting, art, fun. Environmental science, pretty fun, I guess. Environmental science, we did a lot of one-pagers where this one other kid, bless his soul, I love him, didn't want to do it, so I'd do the one-pager and he'd like contribute one little part to it and we'd both get 100. And then we'd play, Pokemon for the rest of the thing, or just watch stupid videos or whatnot. So yeah, take these classes. So most of high school is important but hard, which I think is good. Maybe feels like, I think I'm just a big nerd. Yeah.